Horizonchas, Holmes Rex, and this is Proving God Exists Using Math by Channel Redeem Zoomer. I don't know where he's gonna go with this, but yeah, there's gonna be, I don't know. Math is just a tool that we created to see finite and constant things and even infinite things, right? Basically. But yeah, math is just a tool, right? We see patterns, and that's what basically math is. That's why there's like different versions of maths, right? From calculus and everything, there's a reason why certain formula works certain way, certain formula so other. It's basically seeing the physical world's patterns and putting it in numbers and things, right? Is one of the most accurate things humans has invented, and it is invented because math, you can see mathematical things in physical world, but math itself is a tool that we can basically, let's just say, fit in that way, right? I don't know how to say that. I hope I can basically, my head is sharp right now because I'm a very scientific guy and I should know a thing or two about this, but I'm also high and it's like late of the day. So yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting how he's going to come to the conclusion, but yeah. Remember, people, if you like my Rickson, don't forget to subscribe. So I know we start videos to tomorrow. Check out the Rickson Day Selling season, and yeah, that's what it.
Does God exist? Many atheists think there's no reason to believe in God because we have science to explain everything in the universe.
No, they don't.
It's true that science is able...
Oh, that's not true. Science disproves God. Nobody says that. I don't think atheist says that at all. There's no reason to think about God. So they don't think. Basically, all atheists or any scientifically driven people only believes in things that has been proven by science. Not that anything that is not been proven is like completely false. They don't have any reason to think about that. Science can prove a lot of things, and science has a long road to go. Like science has to prove a lot of things, and the more we learn, the more harder it becomes to learn anything past that. It's basically quantum world, beyond Big Bang, and everything just becomes harder and harder. Newtonian physics was really hard because it was like an innovative thing in its time. Nobody was thinking that way. But when we really think about it, it's kind of simplistic. Compared to that, Einsteinian physics is really hard, right? So Newtonian physics, let's just say, is the first phase of this physics that was like really perfect in its way, but it failed in a lot of places when it went outside of certain parameters. Einsteinian physics, fixed that. But now we comes to something like, quantum world, like, center of the black hole and things like that. This is where Einsteinian physics fails, right? So we'll need something even more intense than that. And I don't know, like, there has to be really genius guy like Einstein Newton to figure that out. I think the combination of people can't do that either. There are many people as a group trying to figuring that out. I don't think they'll be able to do it. You need to have a genius to, understand something like that. But basically, it's all like what we can feel or what we can not feel. What we can prove, that's the only thing I believe in. If there is some scientific discovery leads to some higher existence like God, science will say like, oh, we can feel, we can prove it in a way, so we believe in it. It's like if science could prove magic, there would be scientific theory about magic, but it can't, so they're not going to believe in magic. It's simple. It's like I can't see the mountain that you're talking about, so I'm not going to take you on your word. But if we get there and I see the mountain, yeah, there you go, mountain exists. I never said I know everything. That's what science does.
God because we have science to explain everything in the universe. It's true that science is able to explain the natural world, that's what it's for, but by definition, science cannot tell us whether there's anything outside or above the natural world. In other words, whether there's anything supernatural. Generally, when people speak of God, they mean a supernatural, all-knowing mind who is everywhere and can do anything.
Yes, science can prove, at least, on theory, virtual particle and shit. Which is, I wouldn't say they're like completely natural physical, because they exist, they don't exist, it's like very tricky thing. Like I said, like the more, like there's two areas, like the more grander areas, like bigger universe, outside of our observable universe, that's like big thing. The small things like quantum world, Planck length, things like that, it becomes very wacky from there on. But science can kind of like touch it. If it can prove it, it kind of can touch it and, at least can understand that there's existing that, right? Black holes can basically prove this virtual particle and shit. So if there is anything, there's a possibility science is literally everything. Science is not a thing, oh, there's like these people with their science. What you're talking about, everything science. Your science, what you do is science. Science literally mean, proving anything basically. Everything science. If there is a God, and if science reaches that point, science will be able to prove in existence of God as well. So God would be science, or science, you know what I mean. Science would be that there would be actual chapters on God, like here's a powerful being, and here's like all whatever detail we know about it on scientific way.
So what is math, and what does it have to do with God? Math is about numbers, and information about those numbers, and ways numbers connect to each other, but where do we find all this math? We can't see math, we can't touch math, we can't taste math. Math is only in the mind. We find it simply by thinking about it and figuring more and more things out.
Sight, smell, these are senses. But neurons are also like something similar to senses, isn't it? Like, obviously senses leads to neurons, but we can think it, we can imagine it, right? So obviously this all, we can't do science this way, but it's inside our head at least. So it's kind of like same way. It's all function of brain.
But wait, math also explains things. Math can explain everything from simple counting to the movement of planets. For anything you can think of, there's a bunch of math that explains what's going on, even down to the atomic level. So if math is only in our minds, but it also explains the natural world, then where does it come from? There's two possibilities, really. One is that math is just something we invented to explain what we observe in the natural world, and that would mean the origin of math is natural. But the other possibility is that math is already there because it controls the universe, and we've discovered it. And if that's true, then the origin of math is supernatural.
We invented it, so it's natural. Makes sense. But we discover math as it controls the universe. Is he implying that math is like outside of the universe, something that controls the universe itself, and that's why it's supernatural? Because no, I think he's thinking too much about this. It's like a wrong way of thinking it, right? It's like if I have a sticker, let's just say I write rock in front of us, on top of a sticker, and put the sticker on rock, labeling that that's a rock, right? Rock still would be there physically, right? But it's the sticker that we invented, let's just say, to label that rock, right? All these constants and things, we put like this different like numbers and things we imagined and put it that way, so it's easier to understand. But it's still out there. It just explains it that way. So we invented math because, it's like all these things already exist in the world, right? It's the best way of explaining, right? If our world was like unpredictable, right? Shit just popped out of existence for no reason. It was like, if laws of physics were different, math wouldn't work. But laws of physics exist, and it's like, it's something that you can, put in a paper. That's why math is a tool. But it explains something that already exists on the world. Like distance is like, no 1 kilometer, let's just say, will ever change in, vary that way. Right? Our space doesn't like change shape all the time. Like distance between moon and earth will not constantly change. Right? It will change based on like the position. But any given position for that particular time, it won't like change. So things are controlled in that way. That's why math works. I don't know about what he's talking about there with the supernatural thing.
Here's why the latter option is correct. Math contains infinite information. There's an infinite number of numbers, each with their own individual properties, and there's an infinite number of numbers in between any two numbers. And we keep discovering things. Pi, which is the number that explains the area of a circle, has an infinite number of digits that we keep discovering by doing calculations. If we were just making this stuff up, we could make pi be whatever we want it to be.
I mean, if anything, the pi doesn't explain the physical world that good because it has an infinite information, right? Pi can explain this, any spherical circle thing, right? But it's infinite because there is no one number, like it just goes on. So if anything, that implies the physical world, like physical, let's just say circle, cannot be explained that well by math because there is no finite number to explain it. If anything, it's that. And math is just, it's a tool that there has no limitation. It can go in either direction infinitely, basically, right? So I don't know how this proves that is, I don't know.
But we can't do that because we know that that's not true. We know that all this information is out there somewhere, but it can't be in our physical universe because our universe is finite and math is infinite. That means math
What?
contains every possible combination of numbers, and if we use numbers as code for letters, then math contains every possible combination of letters as well. That means every book that has ever been written already exists encoded in math somewhere. In fact, every book that possibly could be written already exists in math. And if we use numbers as code for particles and their locations, then you could say there's an exact copy of our universe encoded in math. But there's also more stuff in math. So that's why math can't possibly be contained just within our universe.
Math is so simple and has like so many possibilities, and it's like infinite in both sides, that it can contain anything you want to. But you have to add things to it, right? Like add certain type of formulas to it to make sense the way you want to make sense. It's a tool that can shape any way you want it to. But that doesn't make it like any supernatural. Only thing is like I said, if laws of physics were different, like things varied a lot, math wouldn't work. But things don't vary, right? And his point about, infinite things. Yeah, like math is infinite and our world is finite. But that doesn't make anything that's infinite like not from our world. Our imagination is infinite. I can literally think of anything I want. I can literally imagine anything I want. I could imagine like Marvel Universe is real, that Thor is here in my dream or whatever. I can do all this imagination shit. Doesn't make it not real, right? I mean, there's many infinite things that are not physical, but it exists. But that doesn't mean it's outside of the world.
But that's just the beginning. There's many pieces of evidence in math to show that math has a designer. Here's an example. One time someone discovered that this simple equation makes a very interesting shape when you graph it in the complex plane, and this is called the Mandelbrot set. But people have analyzed this shape and have found some very scary things about it. What's amazing about the Mandelbrot set is that you can zoom in infinitely and you'll keep finding new things. Over here, you can keep finding more and more copies of the Mandelbrot set no matter how far you zoom in. You could even zoom in really close to something like this, and it takes a while, but look, there's another little baby Mandelbrot set. Alternatively, you could go into this region and find completely different things. On the left side of this thing, you'll find these weird elephant-shaped things that have spirals that go on forever, and you could even zoom into the side of one of the spirals and find new spirals
I get it, man.
that repeat infinitely and keep generating new infinite patterns like this. Or you could go on the other side of the elephants and find these weird seahorse-shaped things that have different kinds of spirals that are connected to each other, and once again, they keep going on forever. You can zoom in infinitely, and you'll keep finding new patterns, but like I said, it's a different type of pattern. Seriously, anytime you explore the Mandelbrot set, you can find brand new things, possibly things that no human has ever seen before, because like I said, there is infinite complexity and infinite information in this one shape. That's why this little shape is so scary. We did not invent this because we discovered it by accident, but we did not discover it in our universe. It has infinite complexity, so it can't possibly be in our universe because the universe doesn't have infinites.
Yeah, but whatever program you're using to, show this is not physical. It's a computer program. Math can have infinite things. That's the thing, you said it in the start, and this proves that. I don't understand what it's trying to prove here. Mathematics, some formulas of math, like he says, like I never heard of this, but yeah, Mandelbrot set, right? This formula can create infinities. Great, we know this. Math does that. Right, and this is not in physical world because this is like some kind of computer program. I don't know what this proves it. Like mathematics is infinities, we know that, right? Mathematics can go either way. Like I said, negative or positive. During that time, it can go like numbers that we can't even comprehend. Right? Google Plex. Right? If you take, if I remember correctly, if you take every single atom or dot or something of the entire universe, it wouldn't fit in Google Plex number. That's how big that number is. It's just a tool that has no limitation. So it can also create pattern that has no limit and can be infinite. That doesn't prove that this existence is like above our natural physical world. Mathematics proves that in our physical world, something like tachyon should exist. But we know it doesn't. So math is not perfect. Math fails as well a lot of time. Math explains a lot of infinite possibility in our physical world, but there isn't. So if you prove like math controls the world, why does math comes with something that doesn't exist in our world? So clearly math has flaws in it. some limitation that doesn't work in physical world.
We discovered it just by calculating it. So where the heck did this thing come from? Basic common sense says that someone designed this, but no human designed it. Like we said, math only exists in the mind,
Math
so
doesn't
its
work by
origin
design.
must
Come
also
on.
be a mind. Math contains infinite information, so this mind must be all-knowing. Math controls the universe, so this mind must also be all-powerful.
I think he takes something and tags it like it must be this. Infinite information, so all knowing, right? Only in the mind, a mind, whatever. Like, if it this, then it has to be this. Like, these are some big leaps he's doing here. And I guess you can say it like that, but no, I don't agree with any of this.
And math is beyond and outside of our natural world, so this mind must be supernatural, and we
Yeah.
have just described God. All these numbers and
God came
mathematical
up with-
facts exist in the infinite.
Look, if you're saying like God came up with math, and if you believe in God, so God came up with the physical world, sure, you can say it like that. But it doesn't prove the existence of God. If you want to believe in God and say like God came up with math, sure. But if you want to say prove, no, it doesn't prove the existence of God. It's just patterns. It's just a really good tool that we come up with. Because our world, it doesn't vary that much, like I said in the start. No one thing will vary. Atomic size will stay atomic size for every single atom, right? Atomic size won't differentiate, right? Atomic time won't change, right? Depending on the gravities. But yeah, basically all the criteria aside, one singular thing doesn't vary that much. Laws of physics exist, so that's why math works.
Infinite mind of God. But it's not just mathematical truth that exists in the mind of God, but also moral truth and any kind of truth at all. Goodness, truth, and beauty are just mere opinions of the human mind, unless there is a supreme mind, God, who overrules all human opinions. Because math is beyond time, space, and limits, the existence of math proves the existence of God because math is in the mind of God. As the great scientist Galileo
Look, math can have infinities, but we can't feel those infinities because I don't think there is any, any powerful, even computer that's created that can go at an insane number, infinity number, right? Like, I don't know, there's like Googleplex, there's like another number. I'm pretty sure there's like another 1, 2. But what about beyond that, right? Like, that's just a Planck length. Can something be smaller than Planck length? Sure, but can we measure it? No. So at that point, isn't just like, just imagination at that point, right? And anything below Planck length, what is the point of measuring that anyway? Because we've gone to like very virtual things that's not really physical in a way, right? So when you talk about this larger scale things, it's like what words have any meaning? Like all the explanation come with, you have to think of something as a core, and from there on you have to prove something, right? Otherwise everything's false and everything's right. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm high right now a bit, so my mind is not working perfectly. Yeah, I shouldn't have done reaction. I should have done this when I'm like really well in my mind, but I don't know. The point is like math is just a tool, just like how our imagination is infinite, math is infinite, but math can be proven because physical world does not vary that much. Laws of physics is there, so that's why math works. But there are limitations that doesn't matter if math goes beyond that. Physical world limits things. Like I said, tachyons don't exist. There's many things like tachyons that math proves well, right? I'm pretty sure there are certain discoveries that happening like very recently. There's like kind of like nudging towards that, like all this like wormhole and shit that math explains it might not be possible. Let's just say, just like tachyons. So math proves a lot of things, but it has real limitation and flaws that doesn't prove. And you would say like that's the whole point. Like math has things the physical world don't. But math proves that this thing should be there in physical world, and it's not, like tachyon. So math failed there. Math is not infallible, let's just say. So if math controls the universe, how is it failing like that? So I don't know. This doesn't work.
said, math is the language with which
Yeah.
God has written the universe.
I mean, Galileo need to understand, like, during the time of Galileo, God thing was, like, really strong. So everybody was putting, like, God. Like, atheists were not as strong and everybody was Christian and things like that. So it kind of makes sense. If Galileo was into existed in 20th century instead of when it did, he wouldn't have used the word God there. But yeah, math is the language of the universe. Language, I think, like that's the most accurate thing we have so far. The most accurate thing we have that we can explain something 10 billion years from now, 10 billion years from light years, 10 billion light years from here, we can explain something that nothing else can, right? Math is so accurate that if you discover some higher species, best way to communicate with them would be patterns and math. And what he's talked about, whatever that equation he was talking about, was patterns. And pattern in math is like two sides of one, I don't know, coin. I can't even remember what a coin, but two sides of like coin type of thing. So it's not surprising infinite math equation can create that kind of a like pattern thing that is just infinite. So I don't know, there's many things that he took here, like if this is this, then that must mean this, which I don't agree with. So I don't know. I guess it depends, right? If you really, really strongly, like you're really faith-driven guy, like God has to be there. I don't like any, like, fingers in ear, I will not hear anything. There has to be God. Then you can say it like that, but this doesn't actually prove anything. But yeah. Well, people, if you like my Rickson, don't forget to subscribe. And guys, I'll see you next time.